Hi everyone, this is another demonstration of the time tracker for Acumatica by Trabea software. For this demonstration we're going to look at the shared terminal features interacting with Acumatica's production orders. We've done this in the past, but I've got a couple new features to show in conjunction with it. And these features were announced, but I haven't had them in a demonstration just yet, and this was requested. And that would be default clock-in feature that we added, so you can configure a default clock in, and a feature where you can use barcoded actions to command the time tracker what to do next. Scan a barcode for the employee, scan a barcode for your action, and then depending on what that action is, perhaps another barcode indicating what you're going to be working on, such as the production order. And where it makes it a lot easier is we only scan one barcode to represent the production order type, the production order number, and the production order operation, and we also allow the shift to default from the employee. So it's just one quick scan to fill in all of that information. So here we're going to go ahead and get started and scan a barcode for Maxwell Baker. That will load the time tracker for Maxwell, and if it's the first scan of the day for Maxwell and he doesn't have an open time tracker, it'll just start a new one for him, and then his first action to scan would be clock in. So 2 steps for Maxwell: scan a badge with his QR code, and scan, maybe this is something laminated next to the workstation, but scan the clock in, and he's in. He can keep going. It takes 2 seconds, right? And then here we'll do it a little faster with Joseph. And again, we'll do it with Jesus. So we've just got 3 users clocked in. Alright, so next steps, if we were to identify ourselves again as Maxwell Baker, we'll see now that we are clocked in. So we scanned our badge, we scanned our clock in command, and it clocked us in, and then it refreshed the screen waiting for the next employee. But now we're ready to determine what our production order is. And I'm going to go ahead and scan the command for set task. So now I know what production order I'm working on. I've got that ticket right next to me, and you can have this as a QR code on your production ticket as well. So I'll scan the set task action. The set task dialog is meant to where you could manually configure your information. I would come in here and hit direct, and then it'll ask me for the production order and operation and everything else, right? But if you're just using barcodes and you've got that in front of you, then you can simply scan the barcode for that production order. And as you can see, that was a little lengthy, right? It has the production order type, the production order number, the operation, all combined into a single barcode. And now that we've done that, if we scan Maxwell Baker again, we'll be able to see what happened down here in our tracking details. So we initially clocked into this indirect labor code because we didn't know what production order we were going to be working on when we first arrived. Now we know exactly which production order we're going to be working on. And so we scanned that off of our production ticket or traveler, and you can see it changed it over to a direct labor type, set our order type, production number, operation, shift, and here we have the task out for that indirect. So that set task put a task out for the indirect and a task in at the exact same time for our production order. And now we've got a 3-minute duration for that indirect. So now, and I scanned Maxwell just to come in and show you what this did when we did the set task. If I'm finished with that, I can actually just hit reset here. There's a barcode I can scan for that here. But if I don't actually have another action to perform, I can hit reset and that'll send me back to this as well. Barcode. So let's scan Joseph again. And let's set task again. And let's scan our barcode for the production order. And I have changed my indirect task on Joseph to be direct to a very specific production order and operation. Let's do the same for Jesus. And here we are, ready to go again. So next I want to show the concept of break out and break in, as well as lunch out and lunch in. These can be automated as well through the employee calendar and a process screen that is set up for being able to automate or schedule this. But just to show the manual entry of a break and lunch, let's go and use Maxwell. And let's scan breakout. And so now Maxwell's on break, right? And if I scan Maxwell again, just to show you what that did, you can see that breakout here at the bottom is what that last punch entered, and the status will show on break. So let's reset, and let's pretend we're Maxwell coming back from break. And let's scan our break in. And of course you can always hit those actions. So now if I scan back into Maxwell, let's do the same thing for lunch. And I'll let that sit for a minute while I talk about lunches and breaks in general. So you can direct your breaks to an indirect labor code as well. So they're still counted as the employee's duration for the day, but you can have it so that they redirect and don't charge to that production order they happen to be working on when they went on break. It's just redirected to an indirect labor code. That's an option to configure, and you can even configure that differently per user. For lunches, those are not on the clock. So the lunch time will actually be subtracted from the employee's duration. Or scan Maxwell here again, and let's do our lunch in. Now I want to show the capability of working on multiple production orders at the same time with one employee. I'm going to scan back into Maxwell. We're already clocked into a production order. If I set task, it's going to end my work on that production order and begin work on whatever production order I choose next. But what if I want to simultaneously work on production orders? So that's why we have this add task feature. And so if I scan the barcode for that, it pops up and I can scan another production order or all together. And so now Maxwell, if we scan back in, so it's resetting itself after every action so that it's ready for the next one. But if you want to see what happened, you'll have to scan the employee barcode again. But now we lunched in and we're on that same 47 that we clocked in at the very beginning. And now we've tasked in at 4:03 to a totally different production order. So now we are clocked into two at the same time. That overlapping time gets divided evenly to a point. There's 5 minutes for two different production orders of overlap. Then we're not going to do 2 minutes and 30 seconds. We only work with whole minutes here. And so one of them needs 3 and one needs 2. So it'll figure that out. To end a task, we can scan the barcode for end task, or we can click that button there for end task as well. So I'm going to go ahead and do the end task. It defaults to the 47, which was the first one we clocked into. It's just a default, assuming maybe that the first one you started on might be the first one you finished, but of course that might not be the case all the time. So you can change that here. But I'm going to go ahead and scan the one that we are going to end, which will be that same one. And now what I'm going to do is go back into Maxwell, and while we're here on Maxwell, we'll go ahead and scan the barcode to clock out. So for Maxwell, we're going to want to take a look at the summary tabs. This is going to summarize what happened on the tracking tab. And we've only got 13 minutes here. You could come in here and manually set this backwards here to give us some more realistic time. So if I change that to 8 a.m., I just want to point out that change will show up here on the log tab. Whoever makes the change, what the new entry is and what the old entry was and when. So that keeps track of a manual edit like I just did there. And then if we back this time up, this is where we did the task out and task in. Let's say that occurred 30 minutes later. Notice that changes the next line because those two are connected. We did that when we used our set task feature. And again, I'm only doing this because I was demonstrating and it all took 13 minutes to do the demonstration, but I want to show a more realistic scenario here. So now we've got this 8:30 a.m. task in for that production order 47. Let me go into this task in for production order 45 so that we have more overlap time. And let's just set that to 2 p.m. So that should give us a new result on our summary. And you can see here this quantity. So that's going to give us our remaining quantity that's expected. And I have it set up to default to that, and then I can revise it. You can also set it to default to 0 and force someone to enter this. So I could come in and say that I completed 10 and 10. So these are for those different production orders that we were working on. So 47 and 45. I can also come in and enter a quantity for scrap. And once I do that, if I pick a scrap action of write-off, then it's going to expect me to put in a reason code for that. And I've only got this one set up here for scrap. So I can set my reason code, and I can come in here and enter some kind of description. So scrap description. If I was working on the mobile app, I could even take a picture and set that here as a file attachment. And if I put in any notes over here, that will also flow through to the labor transaction. So notice I have the complete option here and the complete option up at the top. If I'm working throughout the day and I finish with a production order, I can complete from here and it'll complete the labor transactions that I've clocked out of, meaning I've either ended the task because I finished or I use set task to start another task, which sets the other one as out. All of these are out since I've clocked out. So if I complete here, it'll go ahead and do for all of them. But as you're working throughout the day, you can complete from this summary tab, and that will get those labor transactions created throughout the day rather than just once at the end of the day. So you have that option. This will complete the labor transactions as well, but it will close your document. So that's this complete up here at the top only shows up once you're clocked out for the day. So if I go ahead and complete, just to show it from here, what this is going to do is go out and create the labor transactions for each of these. So if I click on that, and this comes in a pop-up window. If I bring that over, we can see that note that we put in came over here. You can see it's got those same 4 lines, the same durations, same quantity complete I entered, and it's got my scrap that I entered, that scrap description, if you want to use that field for that. Everything that was on that screen came over to this labor transaction, right? And I can reopen if I haven't released that transaction yet. Maybe I spot a mistake or someone spots a mistake. You can reopen this and make a correction and then complete again. And what that does is it deletes that original entry, and then we can come in and complete again. And I'll go ahead and do it from up here just to show the time tracker status as well. Moves to completed when you do it up at the top. So we've got replacement transaction for that since we reopened and came back and perhaps made an edit. All right, thanks everybody.